Testing. Are we live? Oh, we're live. All right, great. Okay, so today was the day where our boy from DeleteLawz, he had a court hearing this morning, and it was about basically him setting up a bail. Let's see how this starts out. Because, all right, so here's the thing. He's in jail right now. No bail, 180 days. For what? Well, maybe we should see for what first. Let's see why. Here's the actual page related to the case. All right, so we got his full name here, Jose DeCastro. We got false statement to or obstructing a police officer, which it is the former obstructing a police officer, which he was found guilty 90 days. He got resisting a public officer, found guilty 90 days. The judge decided to run the sentences instead of concurrently. Oh, wait, hold on. Consecutive versus concurrent. I spelled that wrong, but it knows exactly what I'm saying. Come on, Bing. Concurrent means multiple things are happening at the same time. Consecutive means they're happening one after another in sequence. So the judge decided to assign his 90 days consecutive, so it's 90 on top of 90 days, so a total of 180 days. Instead, he could have had a concurrent sentencing, which would have been 90 days in jail, which is 3 months, which is still a hefty amount of time for what he did. What did he do? Well, let's take a look at what he did. What he did was... Sorry, this is taking me a minute. I should have had this one up. It was in March 2023. DeleteLawz arrested. Ooh, look at all of these absolute sick and demented people posting about it. All right.
You good?
Here's how it starts out. Let's make sure all audio is going through. Okay, cool. Here's how it starts out. He just came up, said, "Are you good?" to this woman.
Why'd they say that you were pulled over?
Before he releases.
Oh, I see.
So look at her face. If you could see, she's smiling, she's talking.
What a terrible.
Now here comes Mr. Piggy. All right, look, I prayed about this beforehand. I prayed to Jesus Christ, hey, I want to understand how to do this in your will, the way that God lovingly would want to do this. So you know what? Calling him a pig isn't very loving, so I'm going to try and refrain from calling names, but already his demeanor is saying back up. He's trying to control the situation. He's trying to demand unlawfully for him to back up, and then he starts claiming officer safety. This is a thing that they always do when they want to try and break and distort our rights. They start claiming officer safety. So they've been trained to do this. He reveals later, and we'll see it, that in the police academy, this is how they're trained. They're trained to actually destroy our constitutional rights, the rights that go to each individual. So she's having a cordial conversation with this man, and he's going to come up and say, "You're not allowed to do that." Let's watch.
Oh, I see. Oh, gotcha.
You can film, but you need to stay away from my driver.
Well, what did he say? You can film, but you need to stay away from my driver, is what he's saying. Now, later on, the judge is going to try and claim that they don't know who he is, and basically we're worried about the safety of the driver, and we're worried about the safety of the cop, la la la. But this woman is within just a few feet, could easily say to the cop, "Hey, I'm worried about my safety. blah, blah, blah. She never mentions her safety. She's not worried about her safety. The only one that's worried about their safety is this man who has a gun, who is intimidating him with words, trying to tell him what to do. He's the only one who's afraid for his safety. Even though this man is just simply recording, we'll see from other body cam footage later, he literally is just standing there with a camera, just like this, with he's not armed, and there's no evidence that he is armed. This cop never once feared that this man is armed or was going to attack him, yet he claims officer safety. Let's keep watching.
Back up. Back up, or I'm going to detain you.
Back
You're going to
up,
detain me?
or I'm going to detain you. Instantly looking to arrest this man for literally no reason. He's saying, back up or I'm going to detain you. This is already setting off not so good.
How? In which way?
Obstructing. Get away from my car.
Actually, I'm standing.
For obstructing, he says. And as we've learned, obstructing is a physical act. He can't obstruct just by trying to talk to the driver. That's not obstructing, but this is how the police, specifically Las Vegas police, will try and manipulate, distort, and twist the laws in order to literally put people in torture cuffs and put them into the dungeon.
Standing right here. I'm at least 10 feet away, officer. I got to tell you, I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can do whatever you want, but just understand something. Your name will go on the lawsuit. Mind your own fucking business. Mind your own business. I'm a member of the press. Go get in your car and do your job, little dog.
Now look at this face. You can tell this dude's getting irritated by the way he's talking to him. He said the F word to him and then said he's a little doggy.
Go feed her.
You're being detained right now.
Okay, then.
Oh, you're being detained right now. He's unlawfully detaining him for what he's claiming is obstruction. But watch this. If he is obstructing what's going on right here, then why would he do this? Let's continue.
Detain me. Oh,
Ma'am, you're free to go, he says. Ma'am, you're free to go. So what is he obstructing exactly? They will act like he's trying to impede on the officer's duty to try and deal with the situation, but he literally just said she's free to go. So what is being impeded on now? What is exactly being obstructed here? That's completely not clear at all. And this is what the courts should have dealt with, this is what the attorney should have dealt with, this is what the judge should have been looking at. But instead, we have a complete injustice right here. Mind you, he's in jail right now for 180 days for this. Let's keep watching.
Detain a journalist?
Yes.
2015, Rodriguez.
Over my car.
Don't put your hands on me.
Come over.
Don't touch me. Don't put your fucking hands on me.
I'm going to put my hands on
You know, you're not. I gotta make sure. Hey guys, make sure you guys get my people on the phone. Oh, this is so you ended the stop, you dunce cap. Did you just end the stop? So that's
Yes.
a 2015.
Come over here to my car.
No,
Come over here.
no.
Need an additional unit.
Bring your supervisor, please. Bring your supervisor, please. Don't touch
Over
me.
to the car.
You don't get to put your hands on me. Don't grab me. Don't grab me. Listen, you're not. First get your supervisor out here. You're not just gonna grab me and throw me on the ground. You've already released her. You've already released her. This is 2015 Rodriguez versus United States. I'll walk right in front of your car. Let's go. Sure, come on.
So right now, how is he? They claim later that he was resisting. He's complying. He said walk over to the car, and though at first he refused because he believes, and I believe too, that this is completely unlawful. He's unlawfully detaining him. There's no law that would actually defend this man for being detained. And yet,
You need to set the phone
There you
down.
go. No.
how is he resisting? You see, if he was resisting arrest, this cop would have already been tackling him, putting him on the ground, and putting him in cuffs, right? That's not what's going on.
No. I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can't take away my
Set the phone down on the hood.
I'm now in
You're
front.
being detained.
Please,
Now you're going to put hands on me.
No.
Come over here.
Why are you grabbing?
You're going to put hands on me, he claims. Let's see this again.
I'm now in
You're
front.
being detained.
He put his hand across his body.
You're being
Because what? That cop's trying to push him. He literally just took his hands off of him, and then what does the cop claim?
Now you're going to put hands on me.
No.
Come over here.
Why are you grabbing me?
Come over here.
Sure.
over here.
Let the phone roll.
I don't care about the phone.
Why are you grabbing
Turn
me?
around.
I'm a
Turn
member
around.
of the press.
Turn around.
I'm not doing anything.
You're being detained.
I'm not
now.
doing
Turn
anything.
around.
Get your
Stop.
supervisor.
Stop.
Are your cameras on? Are your cameras on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, then
Put
don't
your hands
put me
behind
in
your back.
No.
You're going in handcuffs.
Why?
Put your hands
Why?
behind your back.
Can we slow down? Get a supervisor. I haven't done anything wrong.
Put your hands behind your back.
I haven't done anything wrong.
Don't make me
If you
attack
want to
yourself.
detain me, then detain me.
I am putting you in handcuffs.
But I'm not putting my hands on my back.
Facing the hood.
I'm
Turn
facing
around.
the
It's not
hood.
within policy to put it behind. It
Don't
has
put
to be
it-
behind your back. Right now, you're going to get a ticket.
For what?
If you do not put your hands behind your back, you're going to jail. Put your hands behind your back. Do it now. No. No, I don't know if you have any weapons.
All right, so it's a lot of wind here. Now we're gonna go to let's go to here it is.
When you asked the defendant to back up, did he follow your order?
No, he did not.
Now we're gonna see here how the cop blatantly lies to the court under oath.
I gave him 3 additional warnings to back up.
Okay.
Well, we can see in this video here, and we even saw earlier, he's backing up.
And did he obey those orders?
No, he did not.
You can see that I step back, and I step back again, and I step back again. But my counsel didn't do that.
I don't really want to be part of your YouTube channel. So
Now, I'm not a fan of this lawyer who's defending him because he completely failed in this whole thing. The judge is absolutely demented, and the prosecuting team is like any other prosecuting team. They're always looking to criminalize people even if they're innocent.
You already are.
great.
You already are. He's a pig.
Excuse me?
I said he's a pig.
Exactly what happened that day, and if you're honest, you'll conclude that a man is sitting in jail for absolutely no reason. Now, this isn't.
Yeah, this is narrated by Here's the Deal. This guy has a great channel. Let's see
an hour
where
and a
this
half
goes.
court proceeding, and I'm only going to comment on what I consider the highlights. The link to the entire video.
Castro,
In there.
can you turn off your phone, please?
So immediately saying, can you turn off your phone? She's going to already try and limit his ability to try and take his own documentation of what's going on in the court.
The one that's in your hand?
Just communicating with my lawyer. He's on his way here now. I'm just waiting for him to get there.
You can't have your phone. You can't have your ability to communicate. We're going to end that for you because why? Oh, because she claimed, I don't want to be a part of your YouTube channel. Dude, that is long gone. You're going to be a part of YouTube. You're going to be a part of my YouTube now. You're going to be a part of many people's YouTube now because of this.
All right, I'm going to wait for your attorney, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. 13015.
Good morning, Your Honor. Agnes Botello, Nathan Cave for the record.
Agnes
Morning,
Botello.
State.
Good morning, Michael. Me on behalf of the defendant who's present with me this morning.
Michael
So
Mann,
I have
defense attorney.
signed 2 media requests that permit recording or photographing these proceedings.
This is the other, wow. Is it a different attorney than we're going to see later? I thought it was the same one. Shh, they're all terrible. What is this?
But I have not granted any other requests to record or live stream these proceedings. So I need Mr. DeCastro and everybody else who wants to stay in the courtroom to surrender their phones, or you can leave.
Or you can leave.
Americans have to know that nearly every courtroom across the land is a constitution-free zone. You have to disarm and you have to follow the court rules, which hardly ever line up with the Bill of Rights. She makes it clear that it's her courtroom, she's in control, and only allows certain people to record. Now here's the friction between Chili, the judge.
Let's skip ahead.
Empty your pockets
and give up your phones to the judge.
Okay.
I have to give you
Empty
my
your
phones?
pocket.
Yeah.
My
Give
phones
up.
have to be completely off.
Mind you, to be in court, he was already put through a metal detector and all that stuff. So now they're once again trying to confiscate basically his phone that he could record with or any other recording device just so he can't document it for himself.
Yep. I don't really want to be part of your YouTube channel.
I don't really want to be part of your YouTube channel. The stupidest, slyest remarks they continue to make. And this is just why we're building hatred against them. And you know what? Right now, I just want to pray about this, God, Father in heaven, Son of the Father, Jesus Christ. We call upon the Holy Spirit. Lord, may you be with us. May your Holy Spirit be with us in these moments, because these are hard times for him, hard times for people watching this to try and understand the justice and the injustice that's going on in the court systems and the political systems and the law enforcement systems of America, as we see civilians like this who try to stand up for American rights are being completely undermined and being tortured, literally tortured by the system. And then being reinforced by people like this on the left. So, you know what? Though our hatred is building, God, we give our hatred to you. Let us have a heart full of love, the one you taught us to have, the one that's merciful, the one that abides by your justice, God. We stand up for righteousness and we do not hold hatred. I forgive these people for what they're doing. They do not understand. But God, I pray that you will show them, that you will help them understand, that you will be on the side of justice, that you will shine your light in this dark matter right here. So let's
You already are.
see how it unfolds.
You already are.
Awesome.
I'm not going to get into this guy, though. I'll get into someone else. I'm
No,
not touching myself.
no, they're gonna go to my marshal.
He's a pig.
Excuse me?
I said he's a pig.
Okay. Sir, I'm not gonna permit you to speak to anybody in my courtroom in that manner. And if you don't want to apologize, I'm gonna hold you in contempt.
Apologize, or you're going to be held in contempt for calling him a pig, is how it's starting off.
Apologize to the court, Your Honor.
No, you can apologize to, they've done nothing to you.
Actually, Your Honor, when you
He apologized to the court because she's saying, you're not going to say this in my court. He apologized to the court, and now she's all of a sudden demanding, no, you're not. You're going to apologize to the marshal that you offended his feelings.
here, you came over and gave me a directive for no reason and started telling me what to do.
Okay, well.
I have all the respect in the world for the court. I follow the rule of law all the time.
No, it is their job to maintain the safety and security of the courtroom.
I agree with you, Your Honor.
So, if you want to speak like that in my courtroom, I'm gonna hold you in contempt. And if I hold you in contempt, you're going to jail. That is not my wish. Okay?
I wish you did.
All right. So I need you to empty your pockets too. Suit pocket, pants pocket.
This is illegal. This is a violation of my Fourth Amendment.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. I don't have any recording devices on me. What are you talking about?
How about suit jacket?
I don't have anything on me. This is preposterous.
No, it's
This
not.
really is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Mr. Me, your phone too. Talk.
They're recording everything.
They have a media request.
Right, and I'm not recording anything. Your guy here took my phone, so his phone's not on.
Right.
Try to take the lawyer's phone, too.
You can take the lawyer's phone too?
No, I'm not going to take the lawyer's phone. He's an officer of the court.
Calling a cop a pig in a courtroom is not advisable when you're standing before a black-robed agent of the state who's already exhibiting signs of extreme bias.
Yeah, extreme bias, that's true.
Because he had been so rude and aggressive towards me, and it was just like, so I got triggered 3 times. There was 3 triggers. When I came into the courtroom, people don't know this, but before my trial began, there was just me and 2 supporters and a guy in the back who was a troll. And so I had my leg up on the bench. My left leg was spread out on the bench. And the bailiff came over to me and said, take your leg down. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, take your leg down, sit upright. And I said, there's nobody here. The bench is totally empty.
It's crazy, dude. They're telling him how to sit in the court. Take your leg off the bench. Sit upright. Crazy.
Sit upright in court. And I said, dude, you can go pound sand. And then he told me, I'm going to get my sergeant. And then the other woman came over who was also a bailiff, and she started saying something to me. And I had this really crazy back and forth with these 2 people for 5 minutes straight. I'm talking 5 minutes of arguing with these people. And then What happened was, then those two people went back to the judge. They were back there for 5 minutes, and the judge.
Look, I could understand if the courtroom's packed and he's taking up seats for other people, but the reason why he was protesting this is because there was literally nobody in the court. He's one of the first people in there. He's just chilling, and then they're going to come up to him and treat him like that. That's where we have a problem, because they're not just trying to enforce laws, they're trying to dictate behavior. And it's not even behavior that's unruly or anything. It's the dude has a leg up while he's just chilling, waiting. Like, I can't handle it, dude.
Judge came out and started my trial.
As we've seen many times before in countless videos, when the fragile egos of authoritarians are damaged, any semblance of rationality and fairness evaporate. By Achilles in the city.
You good?
We saw this, so we're gonna skip ahead. Skip.
Come on.
Takes
We
the
gotta see
stand. Preliminary questions are asked, and this is the relevant part of his testimony.
Initially, when I saw him, he was just recording. I ignored him, continued my records check. Then
That's not true. Do you think that he just ignored him? He saw that he was recording and he just ignored him. That's not true. The moment that he was recorded, he was walking up and then said something to the lady, and he immediately stepped out of his vehicle and told him, "Step back."
when he came over to the driver and started speaking to them, I got out of the car, approached the driver, and told DeCastro to back up.
And so when you first laid eyes on the defendant, approximately how far away was he from the driver of the vehicle in the Hyundai?
Approximately somewhere within 5 to 10 feet.
Okay.
I would argue it was more like 10 to 15 feet. A little bit hard to tell in the video, but later on they show a top-down view top-down view, satellite view of the situation, and you can see that it's basically 10 or more feet away. Definitely not within 5 feet.
And you indicated that he was recording?
Yes.
Okay. What did you see that led you to believe he was recording?
He had his cell phone camera pointed directly at me.
Okay. And so is that when, on seeing him being that close to the driver, is that when you told him, you walked up to the driver of the stopped vehicle and asked Mr. DeCastro to back up?
Yes, once he started talking with the driver.
Okay. And why is it that you did that, officer?
Well, I can't have unrelated people next to my traffic stops. I don't know if he's a dangerous person, armed. He could be a boyfriend of the stopped person. It's for my safety and the safety of the person I've stopped.
Okay. Because you're also in charge of the safety of the individual that this unrelated individual is making contact with. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And so you saw it as an officer safety issue
Here it is.
as well as a safety issue for the driver?
Yes.
Okay.
So they're basically questioning him and trying to make it seem like he's defending the safety of himself and the driver, which, let's talk about safety of the driver. If the driver was worried about their safety, the cops right there, they could have said something. They never did. So there's no safety concern of the driver. The driver was not worried about anything. You could see in the video, the only thing they're worried about is the cop, I'm sure. The cop who's going to try and continue to tack on more charges against them. They're not worried about the dude who's recording the situation, and most likely why is because they could probably tell that he's recording the cop and making sure the cop does everything right. He's not over here recording the person, trying to reveal their information. No, he's never done that once. He's never had any intention of doing that. And in the situation, he's really being cordial, polite, and trying to understand the situation and make sure the cop's doing his job. And the driver acknowledged that and saw that and really showed no problem.
And so,
but then we're going to talk about the officer's safety. He posed no threat to the officer's safety. He was not acting violent. He was not threatening him with words. And he was not armed. Though he could say, I don't know if he was armed. Just because he's armed is not a threat to safety. He could have had a concealed carry permit. That is not a threat. Simply an armed civilian who would be armed to defend themselves from being attacked is not a threat to police. So every single statement he's made is just an exaggeration of his training to try and prove that he has the authority to do what he did, but he simply does not. And we could look at many other cases where cops have tried to do something just in California, there was a case where a cop, out of her own safety concerns, tries to detain somebody, which ended up being a unconstitutional, illegal detainment, where the cop is detaining, who's a female cop, detains this guy. And then what happened is there's a struggle that happened, and the dude ended up taking the cop's weapon and then firing it, though it's been decided in court that he didn't fire it at the officer. He did have a negligent discharge, that the bullet fired into the garage door of a nearby home. So he's absolutely wrong for that. But what was determined by the courts is that he resisted an unconstitutional detainment, an illegal arrest, and he was found not guilty for the charge of resisting. He was found not guilty on the attempted murder of the cop. He was found not guilty on many of these issues, even of literally assaulting the police officer, because, well, it was an illegal detainment, illegal arrest, and he was defending himself. That is the law. And if he is in this situation resisting arrest, if Jose DeCastro's resisting arrest of an illegal arrest, then it's not resisting. The resisting charge should be dropped. So the question is here, is he obstructing? Let's continue to listen.
When you approached, well, you said he was recording, the defendant was recording. At any time, did you tell him to stop recording?
No, in fact, I told him he can continue recording.
Okay. He can continue to record given what?
As long as he backed up and gave me an appropriate distance to work.
Okay. And so when you asked the defendant to back up, did he follow your order?
No, he did not.
Okay.
We're going to come back to this because
That's a
this is a lie that can be clearly demonstrated.
And so what did you do next?
I gave him 3 additional warnings to back up.
Okay. And did he obey those orders?
No, he did not.
This is another lie.
And what, if anything, did you do with the driver of the stopped vehicle, the Hyundai?
At that point, I chose to release the driver of the Hyundai and then focus my attention on Jose DeCastro.
And subsequently, did you turn your attention on the defendant?
Yes.
And can you tell Judge Zimmerman the nature of your interaction with the defendant after that?
I ordered DeCastro to the front of my patrol vehicle while pointing at it and told him that he was detained.
Okay. And what was the purpose of detaining him?
For obstructing my initial traffic stop at the Hyundai.
Okay. And did he?
For obstructing my traffic stop, which I ended immediately after I claimed that he would be arrested for obstructing.
Obey your lawful order?
No, he did not.
When they get to this point where the prosecution brings her laptop up to the stand to show Bork's body cam footage, they have serious problems with the audio feedback, which is, in my opinion, unacceptable and ridiculous.
I don't want to play this part. It's loud and it gets messed up. Here we go. This is the video we wanted to see. Thank you. Thank you. Here we go.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see.
Turning down.
You're going to detain me how? In which way? Actually, I'm standing right here. I'm at least 10 feet away, officer. I got to tell you, I'm a constitutional law scholar.
All right, let's just look at this again right quick. Back up.
Oh, I see.
You're not. And he said, oh, I see. And he looks away, backs up, kind of puts his hand in his pocket. Okay, backing up
You're
again.
going to detain me how? In which way?
And then he threatens him again. Back up or else I'm going to detain you. He literally backed up twice. And now he's standing his ground because he's like, what is this unconstitutional aberration, just complete distortion of law? You know, that's when he starts standing his ground, because now at this point he sees this is ridiculous.
Actually, I'm standing right here. I'm at least 10 feet away, officer.
Yeah, he's at least 10 feet away from the car, and that gives even more distance away from the driver and even more distance away from the cop. So we could say he's like 15 feet away plus from the cop.
I got to tell you, I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can do whatever you want. Just understand something. Your name will go on the law. Mind your own business. Mind your own business. I'm a member of the press. Go get in your car and do your job with the business.
And this is a lot of the thing that the cop is judged him so harshly for, is basically his attitude and demeanor of talking to cops. And you know what? After everything, I completely support everything about Chile in this situation, Chile DeCastro. I understand why he hates with a passion these cops. I understand why he talks so bad to them because of this exact situation. Somebody says a couple bad words and then all of a sudden they're looking to throw somebody on the ground and put them in handcuffs. It's not a crime to cuss and say the F word. It's not a crime to call him a doggy. And nor is it a crime to refuse to follow an unlawful order. You see, that's what this is, an unlawful order. The courts even, we'll see in just a minute here, the courts even determine that there is no minimum distance law. So this is not a lawful order to command him to get back. And later we'll see that he would have preferred him to be back 21 feet because that's how they're trained. Let's see. And later, too, he says that he would prefer him to have been back by the semi or the light pole, which is like not 20 feet. That's like 50 feet away. Immediately goes to try and assault him. This cop wants to assault people.
So you ended the stop, you dunce cap. Did you just
Yep.
end the stop? So that's a 2015.
This dude's completely right.
No. Bring your supervisor, please.
He ended the stop. There is nothing he's obstructing currently, and simply.
Don't grab me. Don't grab me. Listen, you're not. No, first get your supervisor out here. You're not just going to grab me and throw me on the ground. You've already released them. You've already released them. This is 2015, Rodriguez versus United States. I'll walk right from your car. Let's go. Sure, come on.
See?
Come on.
How is this resisting when he fully complies? Okay, just because he said, you're not detaining me, you're not this, you're not that, but then look, he clearly didn't resist. He complied.
No.
This is active compliance right here. This is the active compliance that the courts completely overlooked and never mentioned.
So if you watch the arrest video, you can see that I step back and I step back again and I step back again.
Yeah.
So I had to walk all the way up to see it. You couldn't see it, and I couldn't see it from my angle. I struggled to see it.
So the cop's testimony is that Chili didn't step back.
When you asked the defendant to back up, did he follow your order?
No, he did not.
That's a lie. Now, his attorney should have been all over this. The attorney should have cross-examined the cop and exposed the lie. He is openly lying in the court. He took an oath to tell the truth. He took an oath to protect our constitutional rights, and yet he's defiling, twisting, dementing what is the rule of law.
Let's take a look at this clip. When the cop walks,
we already saw this.
No, he did not.
The judge should have thrown him. He was.
And then the judge, her last name Zimmerman, she was formerly married to a cop named Zimmerman. She still has his last name of Zimmerman. That means.
And see, she's a cop lover. In the details, I put that the judge is a cop lover. Maybe I didn't. I can't remember. I wrote a detail and then it like got erased, so I was frustrated about that. But this judge here, N.E. Zimmerman, is a cop lover, married to a cop. She's biased towards cops. She sees stuff like this, somebody talking bad towards a cop and trying to resist their unjust and unlawful arrest. She's immediately looking for any reason to put this guy behind bars.
At her wedding were dozens and dozens of cops. And so it's very obvious that she was biased against me from the very beginning.
During the cross-examination, attorney Michael Mee asked Bork this question.
How many feet did you order the defendant to back up specifically?
I never had an
Oh, here's a cross-examination. Here we go.
opportunity to give him an exact distance.
How far back did you intend to have him back up even if you didn't express that?
In the background of the video, you can see that there was a parked semi-truck and a light pole. I would have directed him somewhere in that area, which would
Somewhere in that area, around 50 to 70 feet away.
have been outside the 21 feet.
Your testimony is you
Outside of the 21 feet zone. It's like double, triple that.
never told him an exact distance to back up, correct?
Yes, he never allowed me to.
What do you mean you never allowed you to?
I asked him to back up, and he continued to argue with me, so I can never specify exact distance for him.
He didn't allow me to. What? All of a sudden he had duct tape over your mouth and you weren't able to convey the words of back up 21 feet? No, dude. Once again, making up stories, making up bullshit. This is what the citizens of America are up against here. They're up against corrupt cops like this who lie under oath. They're up against corrupt judges like this who are married to cops. And they're up against absolute sick and twisted district attorneys. Recently, I was going to jury duty in my own local jurisdiction. And the prosecuting team there, the district attorney, she was so sick and twisted. The case that I was there was for like some DUI case, and she was basically trying to convince the jurors that somebody after one drink could be considered drunk. And they're like, well, how would you, like, do you think after one drink, blah, like she's just twisting it. And when I told them that being drunk means like you are having a difficult time making sentences, and you're having a difficult time even standing up straight because you'd be wobbling and stuff like these are signs of being drunk. A sign of being drunk isn't having a drink. That's not a sign of being drunk or incapable to drive a vehicle. And when I conveyed that to the court, they immediately kicked me out. Not immediately kicked me out, but what they do is they dismiss jurors that they think is not going to help them. And she dismissed me. The prosecuting team submitted the people they wanted to dismiss. So then the judge says, okay, Mr. Rancor Sweetly, leave the room, along with all these other people who were pretty much dismissed for having the same opinion as me, not willing to go with this, just psychopathic district attorneys who want to prosecute. They don't care about justice. They don't care about having innocent people cases being dismissed and thrown out because they don't want innocent people or people who are unrighteously arrested to be in jail. The DUI case I was there for, they didn't have a you're supposed to blow test into an alcohol machine, whatever. They didn't have one of these. So I could tell that they're just going off of skepticism and trying to convince people. And the moment that you're not on their side, you're the enemy. And that's what they're doing here. They're trying to create enemies.
But you got time to give them 5 commands to back up, is that correct?
Yeah, this is a great question.
What do you mean you never allowed you to?
I asked him to back up, and he continued arguing with me, so I can never specify the exact distance.
But you got time to give him 5 commands to back up, is that correct?
Yes.
Your testimony is he never backed up when you were giving him commands, is that correct?
If he backed up, it may have been inches, but he didn't substantially back up.
At this point, the attorney should have said, hey, this witness is lying, Your Honor. He's claiming that my client didn't allow him to state exactly how far he wanted him to back up, yet he could tell him to back up 4 or 5 times. He also claimed twice that my client didn't back up at all.
When you asked the defendant to back up, did he follow your order?
No, he did not. I gave him 3 additional warnings to back up.
Okay, and did he obey those orders?
No, he did not.
This witness has clearly discredited himself on the stand, Your Honor, and I have proof that my client did exactly what he was instructed to do.
Yeah, I like this guy. His name is Here's the Deal on here, and he makes a great point here. I mean, dude, I wish this guy could have been the lawyer, because these lawyers suck.
Even though there's no law stating how far one must be away from a tree, he keeps pressing
Your chest.
He did not back up. He didn't back up 0 feet. He was moving his feet. As to exactly how far he went back, I don't know, but it wasn't substantial.
What would have been substantial in your opinion?
Great
Or what do you mean by that?
I would have guided him if he wasn't arguing with me back toward the light pole in the parked semi-truck. And would have been outside of the 21 feet. That was the goal.
So in your opinion, you have the ability, or you would in any traffic stop, ask somebody to move back 21 feet, is that correct?
Yes, for our training.
And what was that training?
That while we're conducting lawful activity, we're allowed a reasonable distance to conduct our activity.
But where do you get that 21 feet number from specifically?
That's taught to us in the academy. It's based on reaction time, normal human reaction time to a threat.
So your position is anytime you're engaged in any law enforcement activity, you would create a 21 feet perimeter?
Not necessarily. It depends on other environmental factors such as obstacles.
Look, one thing that he said was a threat. 21 feet for a threat, right? They're treating civilians, who in this case is a member of the press, right, who's recording obviously with his phone. He did pose 0 threat, but is automatically assumed to be a threat simply just for being there.
Obstacles and barriers.
So your testimony is that every time you conduct a traffic stop, as long as there's no barriers, you would order a pedestrian to back up 21 feet. Is that correct?
I would, yes.
The bottom line is, number one, Chili was told to back up, and he did. Number two, the cop lied and said that he didn't back up. Then he said he did back up, and then he said again that he didn't back up. Number three, there is no 21-foot law or any law specifying the distance one must stand away from a cop at a traffic stop. Therefore, no lawful order was given. And
Yeah, so see, it's right there. No lawful order.
therefore, no obstruction occurred and no lawful arrest was made.
There you go.
What we have on
It could only be obstruction if he wasn't abiding by a lawful order. No lawful order was given, therefore no obstruction. Therefore, the resisting to the unlawful arrest is therefore unlawful as well. And this whole case should have been thrown out. And instead, just for this,
On
just
camera.
simply for this, he's in jail for 180 days with no bail. This is absolute insanity.
is an attack by a man in a costume who was butthurt that he was told to mind his own business and was called a little doggy by a man holding a camera and exercising his press and speech rights. So now the cop leaves the stand. Chili enters the stand, exercising his
Each footstep like that is about 3 feet. So from where he's standing,
own business and was called a little doggy by a man holding a camera and exercising
3,
his press and speech
6,
rights. So now the cop
9 feet, and he was still only about halfway maybe to this. That's already about 18 feet. And if you include the few feet that he did step back about 3 feet, that's 21 feet. That clearly in my eyes and should be all this should be included here, but the judge is so biased and it's so obvious that this is why people are getting so frustrated with this, is because we're not just up against police who are lying and not doing their job and incarcerating people for charges that are just completely fake. And it's not just the district attorneys who are trying to prosecute people because they're trying to have, like Kamala Harris, the best win-to-loss ratio to make them look like a successful district attorney because they're generating revenue for the state. But it's also the leader of the court, the judge, who are also being corrupt and complicit with this type of absolute just travesty of
cop leaves the
justice.
stand. Chili enters the stand, and here are some of those highlights.
Yes, I do have I do have a YouTube channel, and the reason I have a YouTube channel.
They treat him like crap here. They say, I object.
And
Direct your question.
Member of the
He's
press
not even
in
allowed to
seconds.
speak.
Yes, I do. However, if I may,
So,
He was mentioning Arizona. They're the only one of the few states that has some sort of distance law. And they're like, objection, we're not in Arizona. This is Nevada. It's like, well, yeah, Nevada doesn't even have one of these minimum distance laws. So
stop. Can you ask me a question?
yes, Your Honor. Approximately how many feet did you back up?
I backed up a foot or two. I was at least 10 feet away from that car that the driver was pulled over in.
Did the officer ever give you a specific distance to back up to?
No, he didn't.
If he did, would you have complied with that?
Sure,
Did you believe you were complying with the officer's commands?
100%. I also informed him I'm a member of the press. I'm a constitutional law scholar. That this is what I do.
Do you recall him explaining why he decided to detain you before he arrested you?
He decided to obtain me because he said I was obstructing, which, from my understanding, is a physical act where I would have to get in the way. He said that the driver deserves privacy. I believe my First Amendment rights are not up for feelings. I think from the officer's testimony, we can see that he's scared of the driver, scared of me, scared of everything. They teach them to be afraid of everything. So I had 2 cameras out. It's identified as a member of the press. I'm sorry, repeat the question. I want to get it specific.
Of your detention was because of you not backing up or because of the privacy issue of the driver?
It was both. He said that, he told me to back up. I backed up a little bit. Then he said, she deserves privacy. And then I told him to go get in your car, little doggy, and write your ticket. And at that point, his face turned beet red, and his veins in his neck stuck out because we were over 20 feet away. And you had to holler to hear each other because the wind was probably 30 miles an hour.
And then instead of following my own advice for a debate or court, you go point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint. Instead of me going up there and saying, I'm a First Amendment auditor, what I do is I stress test our rights. But because my video wasn't shown, I didn't say, see here, I'm at least 10 feet away. And then he said that so I didn't.
that was another thing too. He submitted his video for evidence, and then for some reason it wasn't allowed in the court because they're just so corrupt.
Says this.
Your Honor, the state has to.
Here we go. Let's listen to Miss Corrupt District Sick into the Head Attorney.
Find the defendant guilty of both the obstructing a public officer as well as resisting a public officer charged against him. The video very adequately portrays, and I don't think it's disputed by the defendant, what the context was of the interaction with the officer. I would venture to say that had the defendant just complied with the original order to not engage with the driver and to back up, we wouldn't be here. He wouldn't have found himself further engaging with Officer Moore.
See, the problem is the video shows that he did both of these things. He stopped engaging with the driver and he backed up. And the cop lied. So she rambles on for another 4 minutes and then the defense makes his closing statement.
Here's another thing I'm frustrated about is how good the district attorneys are at their job. She's able to speak very coherently and able to basically use the full extent of the law to try and prosecute this guy, saying, I think he is guilty, I think this, on and on and on. But then let's listen to his attorney, which I feel so bad about.
So first of all, you cannot obstruct an unlawful order. I disagree with the state that this is not a First Amendment issue. The First Amendment in this context actually has two parts. There's the filming and the right to film within a reasonable distance. The case law in all the federal circuits, Your Honor, there's no 21 feet rule that's been approved by any court of which I'm aware. That there is a 10-foot rule. That seems to be the rule that is applied by most of the federal circuits in interpreting the First Amendment. I submitted a bench brief that kind of goes through that issue, if the courts had a chance to review that.
I don't have that. When did you submit it?
It was submitted yesterday, Your Honor.
I don't have that. When was it submitted?
I mean, at this point, I would move to
And then they check it and then figure out it was submitted.
strike because it's untimely, but
They strike it because it's untimely. See, they're able to just throw out their evidence just because it wasn't submitted in what they claim is their preferred fashion, which
I got it this morning when I walked into court.
Go ahead.
So the officer's testimony to that, there's essentially this 21-foot distance where anybody can charge an officer and cause physical harm to an officer. If that is applied universally, Your Honor, it totally diminishes and violates the First Amendment. That is, as the officer testified, a 21-foot radius that he can attempt to impose. I believe his testimony was anytime there's not an obstacle between a person and somebody that law enforcement is interacting with. And that's just not what the law requires, Your Honor. The First Amendment gives their media, new media, old media, it gives individuals the right to film government agents. The commands to not talk to the driver are also not based on any actual legal justification. There's no right to privacy in public, whether you're engaged with law enforcement or not. There's no requirements or no statute, no law that citizens can't interact with drivers that are interacting with law enforcement. So what's taking place here, Your Honor, is that this officer has taken it upon himself to essentially act as the legislature and created these rules that have no basis in any law and in fact are contrary to the First Amendment. Again, he can't obstruct an unlawful demand, so there is no obstruction of justice here. Resisting arrest, Your Honor, the court can see the video. Essentially what happened is he walked over to the front of the vehicle. There was some dispute about why he was being detained, and that was discussed. The case law in that area, Your Honor, is that if it's an unlawful arrest, which it was in this case because they're essentially arresting him for violating these unlawful orders that they're pronouncing.
see how terrible he's wording this? Like, oh, that's what got me so frustrated. Every other word is he's pausing, he's not able, like, I feel like I'm able to convey this to you better than he is, and he's a lawyer. I'm not even good at this. I got 116 subscribers. I'm not good at being live on video talking about these things, and yet I feel like I could have easily conveyed this much better than this lawyer who's getting paid $10,000 to be here.
Again, the case law is you can passively resist an unlawful arrest, and that's all that occurred here. Thank you.
I personally think that was a pitiful attempt at defending freedoms and proving innocence. He simply could have constructed a bulletproof defense with bullet points. Fact, the cop lied. He said my client didn't back up when he clearly did.
Yeah, that would have been the biggest one to focus on, is the fact that he cop lied.
The prosecution says we wouldn't be here if my client had obeyed the commands to back up and stop talking to the driver. Your Honor, my client clearly complied with both of these commands. So what's the problem? And I agree, we shouldn't be here. The video evidence proves my client is innocent, and if anyone should be on trial today, it should be the law enforcer who attacked my client because he got his feelings hurt for being called a little doggy and was told to mind his own business. The fact is, Your Honor, this is supposed to be a court of law, not a court of feelings. My client broke no law. No lawful command was given. No victim was created. No crime was committed. Honor,
let's skip through this.
Than any.
Mr. DeCastro, please stand. The problem with the argument that your attorney makes is it completely fails to consider the safety of the officer and the safety of the driver.
Oh.
The officer doesn't know who you are, and the driver.
Oh, here we go. She's just making up laws and making up feelings, because that's what this is right here. The supposed security of the driver and the safety of the officer. These are about feelings, because this isn't about law. If it was about law, they would be able to say, okay, he violated this law here, violated this law here. He was within a 10-feet zone. That's a direct violation of law. And none of these things are going on. She's just simply going off of officer safety, which is based on feelings that he felt like he's a threat, even though he posed no threat. He was not armed. He was not violent. He did not say anything violent. He did not threaten him. These would all be things that make somebody a threat. But instead, she's making it up and brings in the driver into this, even though the driver never once said to the cop she was in fear of her safety. The driver never voiced any concern to the officer, even though he was right there. She could have easily said, hey, I don't want this guy here. And even that doesn't show any concern for safety. But even if she said, hey, I don't want that guy here, that could have been something. At least showing like that she don't, but this is just insane.
The driver doesn't know who you are. You don't have any right to interfere with that officer doing his investigation and deciding if he wants to issue a ticket to this driver.
You have no right. Actually, she's wrong. We do have a right. We absolutely do have a right. And that's where she's wrong. And that's why this is going to be overturned. That's why a lot of people are going to have their eyes on this case. That's why thousands of people are going to have his back in this, because they're going to see this. They're going to understand that this is complete injustice, what's going on. This judge is completely corrupt, and she's taking the law into her own hands. She's not actually abiding by the law, which she's supposed to be. She's supposed to be speaking law right now. She's not speaking law. These are all feelings.
With that officer doing his investigation and deciding if he wants to issue a ticket to this driver. And you also don't have.
How is he deciding that? Like, she's saying, and you have no right to decide whether the officer should. That was never a question here. She's just making things up.
Any business approaching the driver.
You don't have any business approaching the driver, she claims, as if somebody's not allowed to approach somebody in public, which is completely lawful. If I'm in a parking lot and I see somebody in the parking lot getting into their car, there's no law that prohibits me from approaching them. There is no law.
The driver didn't ask you for help.
The driver doesn't need to ask for help. Now, contrary to that, if the driver did ask the cop for help, then there would be a concern for the driver's safety. Never happened. So therefore, once again, she's proving the point. The driver never asked for help. Therefore, he never once posed any threat to the driver.
I didn't say help,
Oh, didn't say help. You're right. You're actually right. They didn't say help, which means he posed no threat.
You didn't see an altercation happening between the officer and this driver. The officer didn't protest.
Okay, let's say we're in a parking lot and some person came up to me, or let's say I came up to somebody and they say, hey, get away from me. I don't want you by me. Then all of a sudden I don't comply to their request. Then I would say that is some sort of abuse of a right, because you know what? I feel like people should have the right in some sense to, go about their duties without being harassed. So if somebody's coming up to me, I'm saying, no, thank you. I'm not interested. Please be on your way. and they continue to question me, that'd be harassment. And if they continue to follow me, that could be stalking, stuff like that. That has legal terms, but what she's talking about has zero legal terms.
You were filming. There's no problem with filming. You can film. It's fine. All right? But you did interfere with his investigation. You did interfere with his ability to do his job.
Now, this is where the thing is, if he was interfering with the investigation and his ability to do his job, then why is it the cop told the driver in which he was investigating to leave, right? That means the investigation's over. There's nothing further to investigate. There is no interference if the investigation's over. This has clearly been demonstrated. Yet, let's listen to this corrupt judge.
Did put him in a position where he is concerned for his safety and the safety of the driver. So I believe the state's met their burden beyond reasonable doubt. I'm going to find you guilty of obstructing a public officer and resisting a public officer.
In my opinion, there was no lawful basis for this conviction. There was
None.
only a subjective opinion that Chili obstructed and resisted.
Yep.
This is a dangerous precedent that discourages transparency and penalizes those who would want to hold their public officials accountable. So then the prosecuting attorney recommends that Chili attend an impulse control class, be charged $500 or the equivalent in community service, and serve 90 days suspended sentence on each count to run concurrent.
On each account to run concurrent. So we learned that concurrently is different than consecutively, right? So let's revert back to, I'm going to text. Let's concurrent versus consecutive. Concurrent means they happen at the same time. So what we're seeing here is the prosecuting attorney is saying he should be suspended for 90 days for each one ran concurrently, which essentially would mean for everything that happened, he would have some sort of, I don't know exactly what suspended sentence is, but I think it would be similar to maybe not even as extreme as house arrest, but some form of probation or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but watch how it goes from a 90-day sentence of suspended sentence, right? To what is the cop do?
The defense claims that Chili believes in what he's doing and doesn't want to engage in wrongdoing. The judge reveals the real reason she's passing down such a harsh sentence.
Let's hear it.
When you say he doesn't wish to engage in any wrongdoing, it seems to me from observing him in the video that he wants this. He wants to get arrested. He wants to get into an altercation with police officers. He welcomes this. This helps his YouTube channel. He called the officers here in my courtroom today pigs. He called and he's nodding his head up and down. So apparently he hates every law enforcement officer in the United States.
Let me talk about that thumbs up. When that judge was saying all that stuff to me, I think this and I think that, I was giving a thumbs up and saying, yeah, lady, whatever you say. I wasn't agreeing with her. She was just giving this big, long speech about me and my character, and she knew nothing about me.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that I preach constantly nonviolence, do not attack police, do not fight police, do not shoot at police, I teach all the time. You can passively resist, but do not go physical hands-on against the cops. And she doesn't know that about me because she doesn't care. She wraps her legs around the cops. She loves cops.
Please stand up, sir.
Yeah. I just absolutely agree. No matter how many bad words are said or if he called them pigs, if we're looking at the facts here, she's just making up things about his character, which is even worse than him calling the cop a pig. Him calling the cop a pig, that's just a name of protest, a name of defiance, a name of whatever, a disrespect. What she's doing to him is telling him how he feels. This is not a judge's place to say, well, I think he feels like he hates all cops, and I feel like la la la, which isn't apparent at all. He could be asking these questions to her. Hey, sir, do you hate all cops? Because it seems to me from this demeanor no, she's just casting her judgment upon him, once again, unjustly, to try and stand behind her emotional judgment here. That's what this is, emotional judgment. Here we go.
She doesn't know that about me because passive.
Request for credit for time, sir.
I would just emphasize, Your Honor.
What's your request for credit for time, sir?
Wait, what
She
was it?
loves cops.
Please stand up, sir. Are you finished with your request for credit for time served?
I would just emphasize, Your Honor, that
This is his last chance to stand up for him.
the defendant testified and he sincerely believes that he is providing a public service when he reviews and films these incidents. I understand the court may have a different view of that, but when we're talking about First Amendment public policy issues such as supervising people involved in government, I think that is something the court can take into consideration, not have a chilling effect on that. Let's go on, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. DeCastro, please stand. I hereby sentence you to 90 days.
She doesn't even listen to what he said, and this is why this is going to be appealed. This is why the Supreme Court's going to get involved. This is why thousands of people are going to be protesting exactly what's going on here, because just a complete overrule of law, completely twisting the courtroom into whatever she's dictating, and the people are not going to stand for this anymore. These people that turned the Nevada state blue, which, once again, that is a complete corruption of their entire state. Just like in Arizona, complete corruption of their entire state. This is what's led to these types of things going on here.
Days in the Clark County Detention Center on count 1, 90 days in the Clark County Detention Center on count 2, to run consecutive for a total of 180 days in custody. Thank you.
She made up her sentence and just, boom, threw it down like that. Let's hear it, how she just does that one more time, just like a...
Let's go on, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. DeCastro, please stand. I hereby sentence you to 90 days in the Clark County Detention Center on count 1, 90 days in the Clark County Detention Center on count 2, to run consecutive for a total of 180 days in custody. Thank you.
Didn't even look him in the eyes, looking down the whole time, and this shows the cowardice.
Sentence suspended or?
Oh, no, we're gonna start right now.
Coward. And then she just walks away. Complete coward move. That wasn't what the district attorney called for. She
This
just
is
made
exactly
up
what it is.
her law.
A travesty of justice, because a man doesn't like cops or their aggressive and deadly actions against Americans committed every single day.
Yeah. Now, there's so much more to this. So much more to this. Here's the one that just happened this morning.
The Honorable Judge Zimmerman presiding. Please be seated. Come to order.
Audio on this sounds so bad.
All right, Jose DeCastro, 23 Sierra 013015.
Hey, thanks for viewing. You're my one viewer right now. Thanks for checking in. And say something in the chat if you want to talk with me. Let's get this conversation going. It looks like he got a new lawyer. Another failed lawyer.
State Farm number 11064.
There's the sick and twisted district attorney.
Motion.
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, I've had a chance to watch the video of the trial. I watched Mr. DeCastro come into the courtroom in an extraordinarily disrespectful fashion and refer to the marshal in the most inappropriate way. I then saw some other things that I consider very poor in the courtroom.
So this is his attempt to just completely suck up to the judge. This is their attempt to try and show remorse for his actions.
He is given 6 months in jail. One thing I know he's going to do today is, for no other purpose, no matter what your ruling is, he wants to say sorry. I've asked him if he'd say sorry to the court. I understand that you may see it as that he should have apologized to the marshal. I don't see the marshal in here that he did this with.
And here's the thing right now. Jose DeCastro knows in this moment that he pretty much stands no chance. He knows that this judge is not going to listen to him, is not going to obey him, and is literally just going to put him back in the slimer, and his next court date isn't until July. So he knows he's already been in there for like 15 days, something, I don't know exactly how many days, but at least 2 weeks. And it's been hell for him. He talked about what it's like being in that jail, and it's complete hell. This is not your standard holding cell. This isn't your standard jail. This is a basically 24 hours solitary confinement. And And for people like this, for a nonviolent crime like this, for he didn't steal, he didn't create any, there's no crime here in which he should be facing jail time, which is why the prosecuting attorney never recommended jail time for him. And yet the judge, just out of a whim, decided to give him 180 days in jail to what? To try and teach him a lesson because she feels like he hates cops. This is the disdain that is growing against the system from people like me. You know, I would have never made this video if I wasn't so completely disgusted by what's going on. And the people that are supporting and laughing at him and saying he's a crybaby, dude, this is why I had to make this video, is because we're up against demons, literal demons, people that are just love to see people being tortured because they're what? They're demonic. I'm telling you.
One thing I would note for the court is that the issues that I saw seem to be significant constitutional issues. The court addressed it, but what I did notice is that this should have been really briefed beforehand on First Amendment issues, so the court could have had that. That's no fault of I think it just should have been done beforehand. I also noticed that at time of sentencing, the state asked for a suspended sentence, but Mr. Castro just pushed it, and I see reasonably agitated and irritated the court into causing a sentence that is now 6 months. This man, from what I can tell, Your Honor, has no prior felony convictions whatsoever. I'm doing that upon information and belief. I haven't run the scope. I know the state could do that, but I don't see that he has any felony convictions. He's made his appearances, and I think the time in jail has been shocking to him. I know it has because I can tell the reaction.
It's not just shocking to him, it's shocking to me. It's shocking to everybody looking at this situation. And it should be shocking to that attorney, and it should be shocking to the district attorney, because that's what this is, a complete shock to the people who are looking for some sort of justice to be done. And all we're seeing is corrupt judges, corrupt police, and corrupt prosecutors who are just twisting and putting innocent civilians into jail, into prison.
Of the calls every day and how difficult it is for him. I think he pushed this and is learning a very, very difficult lesson in life. I would ask the court to consider, based upon his ties to the community, with sister here, nephew, he has a whole bunch of people who wanted to come to court, which I suggested may be a very, if they're going to come here, be respectful and mindful of what's already occurred in this court. But what I asked the court to do, given his lack of any serious criminal history, his remorse for his behavior.
And when I looked at the criminal history, and they brought it up, and they'll even bring it up again, none of the crimes that are being placed against him are any violent crimes. He never stole anything. There's a trespassing charge, right? But this is from a corrupt cop who's trying to push unlawful orders onto him. And then what do? They solicit a trespass. They do whatever they can to try and unjustly arrest people and put them behind bars. And none of the crimes, I've looked at the list. You could see it on, there's a website for it. It's right here. It's called thepublicdocuments.com. And a criminal record. Let's look at his criminal, quote unquote, criminal record. We got this right here. There's an active warrant, which is one of the things that they try to claim. It was telecommunications harassment, making a call to harass and abuse. So he made a phone call that hurt somebody's feelings. That's one of the warrants. What's the other warrant? Out of Ohio, he was refused to leave a city building after closing hours, claiming his unpermitted training class was now a protest. So he was protesting on city property and was arrested and charged with trespassing. Once again, nonviolent crime. This is not a criminal act, but they're going to act like he's a criminal. There's this charge in November 2015. It was dismissed. Okay. Dismissed. What happened here? September 2002. This is the one he mentions a lot. The, let's see. May have been originally arrested and charged with felony manufacturing of a controlled substance. A felony. He was charged with the felony of manufacturing controlled substance, but we'd have to look more into this because everything I've read on this is just simply not true. Oh, it was, what do you know? It's dismissed. Deferred or dismissed? Which is it? He was charged with 5 felonies, later dismissed. He was only found guilty of possession. So he was in possession of, doesn't even mention what he was possessing. But you know what? I bet it was just some pills in a bottle that they decided to, this is what they continue to do to everybody in America. They're like, oh, this is the guy we want. Let's find whatever we can to incarcerate him.
In this courtroom during that trial, and the fact that the state at the time did not want jail time, is I'd asked for an appeal bond, Your Honor, so that the issue can be,
we want an appeal bond,
can be properly raised. And so with that, Your Honor, I asked for an OR. I would just say a reasonable bail. I would
reasonable
suggest,
bail,
since he came
please.
to the trial, since he already has gotten a taste of what inappropriate behavior in a courtroom looks like and feels like, I would ask for a bail in the amount of $10,000 or $20,000, appeal bond in the amount of $10,000 or $20,000.
10 or 20,000, please.
Your Honor, may I respond orally? Typically pursuant to the Nevada
Oh,
rules.
here's a twisted district attorney that's responding. They originally wanted 90 days of suspended sentence, but then let's listen to this.
Criminal practice, the state has 10 days to file an opposition, but this was placed on calendar very quickly, so I would ask for leave of the court to answer orally.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm in receipt of Mr. Orum's motion for bail or the alternative for his own recognizance release. I would note that NRS 178.488 does make it discretionary upon this court whether you would allow bail pending appeal. Mr. DeCastro, there has been a briefing schedule set before Judge Levitt in district court on the appeal, but it's not set to be heard until July. It's discretionary.
Not set to be heard until July. This is what's really insane about this whole thing. He has no choice now. He's going to be literally rotting in a jail cell until July to be able to prove his innocence, to be able to have a Supreme Court to try and look at this case so that he could attempt to appeal the complete injustice that's going on here.
As with a lot of the bail settings in Nevada, it's discretionary. And the state will oppose this court setting a bail at this point. There seems to be
now she's opposing the bail.
Assumption that this court sentenced Mr. DeCastro to 6 months in the Clark County Detention Center just because of his conduct or his inappropriate conduct in court. I would venture to say that Your Honor presided over the trial where you found guilt beyond a reasonable doubt for both the obstructing a police officer and resisting a police officer. You saw his conduct in the body-worn camera by the officer, and I would venture to say, and I would submit to the court, that the 6-month sentence that you imposed isn't simply for his behavior in court or his behavior to your marshals, but that it is an appropriate sentence placed upon the defendant by the court due to the charges and the evidence that you saw during trial. There's also been this claim that Mr. DeCastro was stayed trouble-free for most of his life. I would venture to say, yes, he does not have felony convictions, he does not have gross misdemeanor convictions, but he does have pretty consistent contact with law enforcement. He does have a warrant out of Ohio for a trespass, and I understand that's a piddly misdemeanor, however, it is a warrant status. And he has a pending case in Las Vegas Justice Court for the very same offenses that the court heard during the trial here. As to the claim that, you know, hey, there were issues before trial, and there should have been First Amendment issues raised or briefed prior to, Your Honor, defense counsel was able to argue the First Amendment defense. Your Honor heard these arguments both during the trial and during closing arguments. Mr. DeCastro, when he took the stand, raised them as a defense, but Your Honor held, after listening to all of the evidence and applying the law, Your Honor held or found him guilty regardless. This was not a First Amendment issue. The state stands by that. This was simply the defendant breaking the law. And he was sentenced accordingly for his behavior. It was a conduct, it was a consequence, an appropriate sentence imposed by the court to the defendant. And so we would oppose any kind of change or any kind of bail setting or an OR at this point. This is not a pretrial detention. This is not a pretrial, as Valdez-Jimenez was cited also in defense counsel's motion. Valdez-Jimenez stands for pretrial detention. Mr. DeCastro is no longer cloaked with the presumption of innocence. He has been found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by Your Honor. And so at this point, I would ask that the 6-month sentence that you imposed stand and that he remain in custody.
Mayor.
Oh, that's a long list of blabber of her essentially kissing the judge's ass in this. And that's what I just really can't stand. I mean, we could break this down. Let's break this down.
Status, and he has a pending case in Las Vegas.
We looked at that. Let's see.
This claim that Mr. DeCastro was stayed trouble-free for most claims in court or his behavior to your marshals, but that it is an appropriate sentence placed upon the defendant by the court due to
they're
the
just defending it. You know what?
You saw.
I think the court realizes that they're going to be under heat for this, and so they're trying to find any way to try and back each other up here to make sure that they all don't go under, because really at this point, if one goes under, they all go under. And so now they're all trying to have each other's back against him.
Jimenez stands for pretrial detention. Guilty.
So essentially, before they never even requested jail time, and now they're standing behind a 180 days, 6-month sentence in jail for what? Because he was found guilty of obstructing and resisting, when we can all see on film how it went down and nobody was hurt. He did comply, maybe not to the exact way that the cop wanted, but we can clearly see that this is a travesty of justice. I mean, look at him. He's completely dumbfounded.
Yeah, Merrick speaking. Oh. I was talking about the interpreter.
Discretionary to you to determine on appeal, pending appeal, whether a appeal bond can be issued. I hear the state. I recognize that you found him guilty. I'm not trying to in any way argue that. On appeal, there are legitimate issues. The court can see that, you know, there are some First Amendment issues just from watching the video, things that a court could consider on appeal. And so that's the only basis I'm bringing that up on. But given the fact that I think he really is contrite for what he's done.
I disagree. Have you watched the videos that have been posted since he's been incarcerated?
I have. I'm in a murder trial.
Okay, so.
So I had a chance.
So he's going to apologize to me in a minute, but that's not what he's saying on what he's publishing online in his phone calls from the jail. That's not what he's saying at all. And are you aware that he has a trial pending in Las Vegas Municipal Court? He has a case pending in Good Springs Justice Court, where he continues to manufacture situations where he'll get arrested.
Your Honor.
See, this is the whole fake lie that she's making up here. She's trying to act as if he wants to be arrested. She's trying to make up these lies that he's basically doing these things in order to get arrested. And so now she's sentencing him to jail because he wants to be arrested. Like, it's just constantly disgusting what's going on.
I recognize that's what he was sort of doing for a living, and this is, he's now being incarcerated.
Right. So what he's saying in the couple of weeks since he's been incarcerated, when he calls from the jail and publishes them on his website, is not what he's about saying to me. Okay? So
Really?
he's gonna apologize to me now, but that's not what he's doing publicly, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Now, this is what we are going over this for, because she's trying to act like she knows what's going on, as if she knows the deeper levels of all this. And I've been watching his videos and I realize he's saying one thing here, but really doing another thing there. Let's listen to what he's talking about.
Was that you do wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning for breakfast, which is slop.
He's talking about what it's like in jail. He's talking about how he's talking to one of his inmates. One of the inmates in there was saying, "I'm insane. I can't do this." And he's literally helping people. He's literally mentoring people, and they're trying to show them, "Look, dude, you're not insane, man."
Punishment. You should not be locked down anywhere for 23 hours a day. Yesterday, a guy started to, after we've been locked down, yesterday was like 20 hours of lockdown. Constitution says that, then you know what? We might have a country that was based on the rule of law, but we don't have that country because so many people don't have the North Star. They don't have a mission. So, as you listen to this voice memo with me in the dungeon, instead of calling in that bottle tonight, did you sacrifice that bottle and say, I'm going to pass that because I have a mission to accomplish? And even if you die in vain.
All this is talking about right here is talking about people who don't have a mission in life and end up turning to drugs, or he's now mentioning alcohol because they don't really have a purpose. And that's all he's mentioning here.
I say thank you for supporting me, and I guarantee you this won't happen again. It will not happen again. I now understand the mistakes I made in court. I now understand you have to hire the top attorney you could possibly get. I know I made my mistakes, but at the same time, in the exact same breath, nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing. We are Team DLZ, and we don't stop. No matter how hard this is for me right now as a person, you still have a mission. I will get out. And when I get out, I'm going to be double the resolve. Maybe I'll be a little kinder. Maybe I'll take a little bit more time to get myself to the gym. Maybe I'll spend some time with a lady friend. Maybe I'll take my dog for an extra walk. You say, what is my mission? And then you say, what are the next 5 things I can do right now to achieve the mission I'm on? You write them down on a piece of paper, and you do one of them. There's so many people.
So really, he's just giving advice right now against this corrupt society we're in.
This is DeCastro from the dungeon in Clark County Detention Center, Nevada. You know, as you go down the road of life, there's always forks. You always have decisions you can make and things. You can decide which way you're going to go. You can make your turns. That's how people end up being successful or unsuccessful, how they end up divorced or married or kids or no kids. Every single decision that you make is based on the decision that you made at each fork in the road. And as you look back through life, you can go through your memories and look back and see some of those forks in the road and some of those decisions that you made. And you do have regrets. You do regret some of those turns that you made and some of those forks in the road. And you may not sit and ponder on regret and say that that's the decision that I made and this is where I'm at now, so I don't have any regrets. Well, I'd rather be a little bit more honest. I have regrets for my regrets. Decisions I made along the way that if I had turned this way instead of that, I'd be in a different place in life. And then I get to the more philosophical position of I am where I am. The decisions I made, I can't go back on, and so I have no regrets. And that's how we rationalize in our own minds, each and every one of us. What I will say is that there's certain characters in life. There's people who form character who are prime movers, and there's other people who are auxiliary, and other people who are bitter, and there's other people who are looters and moochers, and there's just so many different kinds of characters in the world. And to me, the only thing that I've always made sure that I don't become is the con man. The con man to me is the worst kind of person. Always looking for the right angle, always looking how they can grift, manipulate, take from others. I know that because I'm in this dungeon right now and there's a con man in here. And it's the strangest to watch somebody work their cons. And so you, as you listen to me talk here now, have to decide what kind of character you are. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? What is your North Star?
You see?
Some of the cards in here. Teach it. I can't change their in these 8 days with a 5 o'clock shadow I've never had hair on my face this long. So instead of that I needed to do Charlie for a walk, maybe do this, maybe do that. Pretty complete. I don't need to put pen to publish. And I'm not full of regret. I don't regret it. Now though that I see the perspective, it has to be achieved. a law scholar, the game, you're going to absolutely love it. Everyone's going to say, holy shit, you've been sitting on this in your mind? Yes, I've been sitting on that in my mind for a year. And that you may be able to make it. I hope that you can. That courtroom full of people.
He's calling for support. He's calling for people to have a purpose. He's talking about his regrets. He's not doing what this judge is claiming he's doing.
Third party call, and that's why they threw me in the hole. I'm in the hole now. I'm locked down in a room 5 feet by 10 feet within 5 days until I get what's called a CAD hearing or a CAT hearing. I'm not sure what it is. I have court Monday. I need people to show up for court on Monday. That's what I really need. I mean, I gotta get out of this place. This is an absolute crazy house. You have no idea. I can't say anything about my surroundings. I can't say anything that would give away any sort of security thing here. You know, I don't want them to say that I've created any kind of security thing, but I can just tell you what's happened today has been unbelievable. I've been in a lockdown cell for 24 hours, and the guy next to me was screaming the entire night, pounding on the door, screaming the whole night long. I'm in this tiny room, walking back and forth like a caged animal. I've been more push-ups, sit-ups, dips. I can't do any more stretching, and I'm just, they said Rule 249 of the Clark County Detention Center, but I never got a rule book. I was never handed a rule book. I was never instructed to read a rule book. I walked up to every guard when they came in. I introduced myself, told them I was nonviolent. I would not be any problem for them. I've sat on my bunk the entire time. I've not done anything else. I've not communicated with any other inmates. All I've done is read and talk on the phone. Again, I was never given a handbook. Never, ever was I given a handbook. It was never handed to me. I was never suggested I read a handbook. I was never instructed to figure out how to read the rules of this facility. I was never told that live streaming was against the rules. I was never told that reporting was against the rules. I wouldn't have done it. I simply wouldn't have done it. I've been in an absolute and total hell. An absolute, total hell. You have no idea. If you want to talk about time, this is hard time. This is hard in a room with where to a tiny little room. Right on the way down, I had a panic attack. It was so horrifically bad. I felt like my chest was going to pop out. I thought I was going to literally die right there. I thought I was having a heart attack. So they brought all these people around me and they gave me an EKG, and it was horrible. It was horrible. And the guards just do what they're told. Period. If they're told to do this, that's what they do. They don't have empathy. They don't have sympathy. They're told to do something, and that's all they care about. That's all they will do. They will not do anything else. So it's just, and then here in this tiny little, this is punishment. So you don't get a book. They that you'll be locked down. Well, in my particular case, they took me to this room and locked me down. I'm locked down in a room. There's a tiny slit of a window 4 inches wide by 3 feet long, and that's it. Total. Other than that, there's gray walls with a 1 seat and a desk, but you don't get any paper, you don't get any pencils, and you don't get a book. You just sit in this tiny little room. I've called my attorney. We're gonna try to get me out of this horrible situation because I didn't break the rules, and I was never given a set of rules to follow. I was never instructed. You can read the rules here. There's no rules written on the wall. The only thing written all over the walls is suicide prevention. That's it. Are you fearing suicidal? Here, call this. Are you feeling like you've been sexually assaulted? Call this. But there's no rules anywhere. There's no rules that you're supposed to follow. There's no CCDC handbook. It doesn't exist. There is none.
So these are the 3 recordings that he posted that she apparently was so upset about. And yet she was never quoting the problem. She never said, in your videos you said this and this is a problem. There's nothing. There's this fake projection that the judge is putting on him and claiming that, well, he's going to sit here and say he's sorry, but he's not. I watched his videos. He's not. And this is complete lies, dude. If you listen to it, he says he's in regret, and some things he doesn't regret, some things he is in regret about. And so it could have been a question to him to understand, but she's not looking to ask him a question and truly understand him. She's looking to cast her biased judgment against a man and watch him be tortured and then laugh about it. And that's what they're doing. These people are literally laughing about it. It's absolutely sick, dude. Like, let's look at these comments here. Let me refresh this page so that we can look at all the active comments on this. Our Nevada judges with now 4,000 comments. We're going to sort by top comments, and let's go down the list. We got this one right here. Chile trying to look remorseful is hilarious. Now I understand why his acting career didn't take off. So instantly trying to mock a man who is being tortured, who's being put into a dungeon, who has no hope, who sees that this is a complete injustice and there's nothing he can do about it. He's trying everything he can. He has more money to put into this than anybody that would watch this video, I'm sure. And yet they're saying this is hilarious, dude. These are the sick demons that we're up against. Let's look at the 58 replies. And, oh, Yep. I mean, I agree with this. Who did he harm? Yep. Oh, Bob the Game is the officer and the people of the state of Nevada. No. What we're seeing is just sick, dude. Not just the cop, not just the judge or the district attorney, but right here in the comments, dude. Look at Chili rocking those torture cuffs like a champ. Demonic, satanic. These are what we're up against. Oops, those jailhouse phone calls uploaded to his YouTube channel really bit him in the ass. Not that it would have necessarily made a difference, but this judge is paying attention to Chili's larger conduct, not just the facade he presents in court. Well, let's read some more satanic replies. Ha ha, couldn't even squeeze out a tear. What an actor. Never enter courtroom looking defeated. A judge will rarely take pity for acting this way. 10 times out of 9, they're just going to dig their hooks in deeper. Chin up, stay stoic, and speak as little as possible. You know what? That's some decent advice, but it's definitely easier said than done. Chili not enjoying the find out portion as much as he enjoyed the F around portion. Another satanic comment. Maybe he should challenge the judge to mutual combat. Where's all the bravado, tough guy? Yeah, it's just more people mocking him. And what I'm seeing is that these accounts here are from literal pigs. Literal cops. Sorry, I shouldn't say pigs, but you know what? That's just how I feel about it. Like, you're going to watch this video and tell me this guy's not a cop? I'm going to tell you he looks like a cop. He sounds like a cop. And I'm going to claim that he's a cop. What did he say? Have you seen what he's been posting from jail? And that's when he knew he effed up. Well, I don't think this guy has even seen it. My only sadness is that Kate wasn't there to witness his firsthand. I don't know who that is, but it's really satanic. And the reason why these comments are all at the top is because they have a bunch of these bootlicking bots, essentially, that they come through and they all uptick them. Like, this is not an organic way. This is a completely just twisted way that they're using this system here on YouTube. The judge saw through his BS. I think it surprised him and his lawyer that she knew about his jail calls. An interesting defense strategy, manufacturing situations for a living, obnoxious behavior. Let's see this. Chili's always respected the rule of the law. Yes, he pushes boundaries. The hate for him is amazing to me. All he wants is more checks and balances and accountability for heavy-handed police. As a society, we need this. No one else has the guts to do this. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's edgy because it gets attention and needs attention. We need to pressure to test our rights as citizens. Our children, our grandchildren will thank us. I agree with this guy. Now let's see what this Satan decides to respond with. Chili doesn't care about accountability. All he cares about is clicks and views and being able to express his extreme dislike of police officers. He definitely isn't creating a better future. The abusive tactics used by him and other frauditors are having exactly the opposite effect. Jurisdiction after jurisdiction are now having to pass new laws to protect public employees from harassment. These laws result in fewer freedoms for law-abiding citizens, not more freedoms. So the problem is they're passing new laws to protect employees from harassment. You see? He revealed it. They're, once again, just trying to take the law into their own hands to protect their own people. Meanwhile, citizens like us are not being protected. We should be protected against the people who are violating our amendment or our constitutional amendment rights, our civil liberties. But instead, what do we have? We just have them only passing it for public employees. Well, Chile's always respected rule of law. No. Look at his police record and habitual criminal past. He's lost 7 out of 8 lawsuits, 8 out of 9 criminal cases, 15 out of 16 traffic citation cases, 9 out of 12 personal protection orders. There are 2 current arrest warrants on him, 12 pending cases, some civil, some criminal. His guilty plea in stalking a girl while he was a juvenile was sealed, but he confessed in a YouTube video and said he wished he had not pled guilty. If he respects the rule of law, then why did he flee to Ohio to face due process? You know the charges that arose from his arrest because he believed he was allowed to protest in a closed building. These people think they know. This was hilarious. DeCastro was literally on the phone from his jail last week saying that because this judge is married to a cop, she's a cop sucker, which is true. His phone call got abruptly terminated. This guy is digging his own grave. He obviously doesn't know the first rule of the holes. When you find yourself in one, stop digging. My father told me when he was young, be mindful of the people you step on going up the ladder as they are the same people that let you pass them on the way down. He's been telling people he's in prison, but he's only in jail. He is not an alpha, not even a beta, just jail bait. Chile has gray hair. I love how his attorney wouldn't even let him speak once he learned about his post last week. He also has so many people that wanted to come today. Doesn't sound like they showed up. Maybe they do stop after all. That's not what he's posting online. He looks like an abused puppy. I'm sure I hear Sarah McLachlan. I don't know who that is. Sarah McLachlan. Oh, some sad song person. I don't know. There is no First Amendment issue here. There was no issue with him filming and recording. There is nothing that gives him any right to interject himself into the traffic stop. His original attorney tried the same BS argument. And has shown repeatedly that he won't show up to court. They're trying to call him dangerous. He's the kind of guy that will follow a judge home and put a camera in their face under the guise of free speech, although giggling inside because he's going to create a good video for his dwindling followers. Like, what a part of that is illegal? This is what journalists do all the time. What do you think people in Hollywood do? The freaking paparazzis do that all the time. It's not illegal. That's why they do it. That's why they make a job out of it. Everything we're seeing, demon after demon after demon. And this is why we need to stand up against this. Because we're up against a solid force of demons. And we need to stand together, united in Christ. I pray that Jose DeCastro comes to Christ while he's in there. I pray that the Holy Spirit will be with him in his suffering, that he submits his life to Jesus Christ, because honestly, when they do this like this to people, this is how they create actual, true monsters of our society. If this was happening to me, I don't even know. But I see it happening to him. This is somebody I've been following on YouTube for a little bit. I saw him gaining traction. I saw him making some pretty dang good videos about cops. Some of them, which seemed a little bit off the edge because of how bad he talks about cops. Sometimes he'll talk bad about them, and It kind of makes me scratch my head and be like, wait, why would he say that? But then when I learn more about his history with the cops and how they treat him, how they abuse him, just like right here, it just makes perfect sense. It's like, dude, if this was happening to me, of course we would be so pissed off and calling cops names like pigs. It's not even bad relatively, but I guess when you're up against a system that is able to twist the law however they want and able to put people in jail for whatever they want, even if it's a nonviolent crime, even if it's a non-criminal crime, even if it's just a misdemeanor, they could put somebody in jail for 180 days. Why? Because they're upset with the YouTube channel or the words that they say. I'm completely upset with everything that's going on. I'm going to continue to make videos about this. I'm never going to forget that this guy's behind bars. Everybody else wants us just to forget. We're not going to forget. I'm going to continue to raise awareness about what's going on and show how this dude is in jail for 180 days for literally nothing. And criminals, true criminals, are being let free. People who are drinking and driving and manslaughtering people, other ones who are robbing and looting, people who are setting things on fire and have an active felony on felony on felony record. But instead, they want to put this guy into one of the worst jailhouses probably in Las Vegas and torture him, 24-hour isolation chambers. Yeah. I do not support the court in what has happened here. I want this to be appealed. And honestly, the more people that make awareness about what's going on, we're going to actually be working together, united, to stand up for people who are being treated like this. So pray with me. Lord, I pray that you'll be with us as we are seeing more and more people facing the injustices that are going on. People like Donald Trump, people like Andrew Tate, people like Russell Brand, people that are journalists who are trying to bring the truth in the very dark world and the ways that they know how to, and are being completely violated of their rights. They're being assaulted, they're being attacked, their lives and livelihood are being destroyed. So Lord, please give us a way to help each other, to stand united, though we're going to be attacked, to be able to have faith in you, God, and have hold into you, Lord. And I've never seen DeleteLawz mentioned your name before, Lord Jesus Christ, but I pray that a miracle will be done while he's in there, that he will read the Bible and come to you, Christ, that he can relate to your suffering, and that when I hear from him next, the glory of God will be shown, and that he will mention your name, and he will come to understand you, and he will come out reborn, a new person, as I have been reborn, and we will live a new life, one that is not fueled by hatred, but instead love. And that's all that we can do, Lord, is forgive the absolute trespassing against us. He's been trespassed, I've been trespassed, many have been trespassed against. And Lord Almighty in heaven, your mercifulness has taught us to be merciful. And Lord, we forgive them. We forgive them for violating our rights, for violating our life, God. We forgive them. We forgive Joe Biden and the Democrats for every lie that they've shared, for every way that they've used the law unrighteously against our own people, for dividing this country, for trying to stir up a hatred in us, so to have us retaliate against them so that they can use that as a way to force more security against us, God. We pray, I pray, that we will not fall to their game, that we will only follow you, Christ. And as we follow you, Christ, and we're persecuted in your name, that we will be blessed for it. And if we lose our lives for it, that you will give us eternal life in exchange, and the gifts and the glory in heaven that these demons will never taste. They will only taste the fire and the destruction of eternal destruction for following Satan, their Lord, and their father is Satan. And God, we want to save lives. We don't want this judge to burn in hell. We pray, God, that your light will be shown into her heart, and that she may have mercy and continue to shine the light on these people, including the cops, especially the cops, so that we can have a beautiful world to live in, so that your will may be done, so that heaven can be here in earth as it is in heaven. Hallowed be your name, Father God. Elohim, Elisha. Just think of the names of God: Jesus Christ, Yahushua, Yoshua. Thank Yahweh. Thank you, God, for being with us.